Hi there. Before we dive into strategy, let me tell you a story that should keep every SaaS founder awake at night. The Linksys lesson. The year is 2002. Linksys releases the legendary WRT54G router. It was affordable, powerful, and stable. The secret? It was secretly built on Linux, but that free code came with a hidden price tag, the GPL, General Public License. The GPL has a viral rule. If you use it, you must release your entire product's source code for free. Linksys didn't. They lost a subsequent legal battle and were forced to publish their code. Overnight, their secret sauce became public property. The due diligence bomb. Now, think about your business. You've invested millions in your platform. What if one developer 3 years ago dropped in a single free GPL component? In the VC world, this is a due diligence bomb. If an audit reveals this infection, you could be legally required to open source your proprietary platform. In an instant, your company's valuation drops to zero. The BlueRider approach. We take a radical approach to risk management. We categorize licenses into three colors to protect your sleep. Red, strong copy left. Licenses like GPL, strictly forbidden. We do not allow this virus in your IP. Yellow, weak copy left. Licenses like LGPL, proceed with caution. We automatically track and isolate these. Green, permissive. MIT, Apache, BSD, approved. This is our standard for maximum freedom. The SBOM solution. A policy on paper is useless without enforcement. That's why we implement an SBOM, Software Bill of Materials, an ingredients list for your software. Every component entering your codebase is automatically checked by our dependency tracking system. If a risky license pops up, it triggers an immediate red light. This ensures that when it's time for an investment round or an exit, your IP is clean, secure, and audit ready. Building software is about risk management. At BlueRider, we make sure your product is an asset, not a liability. Maybe it's time to check what's actually hiding in your code.
I'll walk you through it. There's a very simple Python script prepared for this project. Can you see it? Yes, you can. I've also increased the font size a bit. And it's very simple. It has a Docker file. It has a pyproject.toml file where we've defined some dependencies. So I just picked a random Django and in addition CycloneDX, which is used to generate this SBOM file. As Tomek mentioned, there can be different licenses and approaches. For example, with GPL, if we have a SaaS platform, then theoretically, since we don't deliver any hardware or binaries to the client, then everything is on our servers. It shouldn't apply. That's why, besides regular SBOMs, you can also have SaaS SBOMs. I intentionally added these 4 commented out dependencies to the file, which will cause our policies to fail. So I'll show you how it works in practice in a moment, but here, for example, we have our dependency track where we can define projects. This is a user who only has access to one project because we can also manage all the users. We can log in via SSO, so we just click login with Google. Anyone with an account in our domain can log in and see what's going on. Of course, we have to add you to a specific project, but by default, you're all in the project in the BlueRider team. So at the moment, from the 2 dependencies we have, that is Django and this CycloneDX, we have 36 components that have been added. So to answer your earlier question, Norbert, when we install something, it scans our entire environment and checks what's inside, right? Meaning all the packages that are there. At the moment, we don't have any policy violations. Could you zoom in a bit? Yes, I'm zooming in now. At the moment, we don't have any policy violations. Additionally, dependency track allows us to perform a vulnerability audit. So for example, if we have vulnerabilities where someone could access our system through a specific library, we can check for that here as well. For now, we're focusing only on these policies, and in the future, we'll show how these policy violations work. So we have a very simple project. Right now, I'll just uncomment these 4 packages. I'll run a UV sync. So I've added these 4 dependencies. I ran of sync, which is like poetry, but much faster, written in Rust. And now I'll quickly do a C push. Okay, so now it's been sent to our GitLab. And in this project here, we have GitLab CI, which is responsible for running the pipelines. It's very simple. The only thing it does is build an image in which UV is installed. It's just some Docker file is included. And as soon as it's done, let's see what's happening now, what it's going to do. The image is built and named Insecure Demo, and it's tagged as latest. Then we have our package, which scans the environment. because we have several ways. We can run it on poetry files and so on. But since we have everything simply installed in our main container in the environment, we run it as environment, meaning when we run it on poetry or on requirements, we won't get information about licenses. It will work for poetry because there's a lock file. If we run it on a requirements file, we won't get it because the requirements file itself doesn't contain license information, and well, this Cyclone DX doesn't download those packages. It just checks what packages they are. So we output it to JSON. I just set the output to the console and saved it to a file. And then with a very simple curl command, we send it to the URL, which is simply configured in our CI/CD variables, the API key, and as I said, the project UID. So it went through, there's information about what happened, and there's information that our SBOM was sent. I also, of course, added artifacts here so that you can download this SBOM if needed and upload it manually or process it further or whatever. And now, automatically, if we go back to dependency track, 3 new items have appeared in our policy violations. And we have a warning because it's an MPL license. I don't know exactly what kind of license it is, but it's probably some kind of weak copyleft. Sorry, it's weak. And these 2, I don't really know what packages they are. I found them on the internet using a chat. They have GPL version 3, and the policies that Tomek configured automatically detected that something happened in our pipeline. What's also very cool about this dependency track is that we can tag these versions, let's say, so for example, if we're making a 1.0 release version, we upload our SBOM, and then a week later we have another release, 1.1, we can compare what exactly has changed and what's wrong. For now, we don't fail pipelines, but for example, on some releases, we will be able to do that. Why don't we fail pipelines? Because if we have a project that's been around for a long time, for example, there might be so many of those warnings, those errors, fails, that we can't fix it all at once. And often in such cases, we just do housekeeping, but that's for all vulnerabilities. Generally, for example, we can do an audit because it's also a very cool tool that allows you to do an audit and, for example, find out everything that is on... these are the vulnerabilities, these are the policy violations here. So, for example, we can have 30 projects and we can go into the audit and see which projects are failing at the moment.
Secure and audit ready. Building software is about risk management. At BlueRider, we make sure your product is an asset, not a liability. Maybe it's time to check what's actually hiding in your code.